And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 19th day of July 2019. I trust that everyone had a restful, enjoyable night. Those of you who are early birds, got some thunder this morning, some rain as well in some areas of the Cayman Islands. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, cyclist, operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to be extremely careful, observe the rules of the road, and remember that the life you save may be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning, again, it will be that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number, provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Speaking about emailing us, one of our very faithful listeners who was overseas for a while in the UK has returned, and I got a nice email from them saying that they were listened whenever they had the opportunity, and they're back here again and will continue to listen. So we want to thank them for that as well. Those of you who are celebrating birthdays today, we want to wish you a happy birthday as well. If you've celebrated one in the past few days, a belated happy birthday. But for those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we extend our condolences to you, and we hope and trust that your strong faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times. Those of you who have experienced any medical difficulties, had to spend any time in hospital, any medical procedures, again, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. Today, normally, would be the official opposition. As you are aware, or you may be aware, that 3 members are in Trinidad and Tobago attending the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference. So we are going to continue with our discussion on constitutional changes in the Cayman Islands. The conversation will continue with Dr. Steve McPhail. We will have the Honorable Mary Lawrence, former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. She will join us later as well. And if time allows and his schedule allows, we will also have a former MLA and former Minister, Mr. Gilbert McLean, join us. At the moment, it is just Dr. Steve McPhail in the studio. Doc, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Much quicker than we anticipated. We were thinking next week, Wednesday, but 2 days later, we're back here again.
Good morning to you, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to all your listeners, and locally and For the Record land, and for all those people who are listening to you in Europe, North America, and South America, and around the Caribbean. It's good to be back, and I'm glad you asked me back here again. I had some time this morning, and I decided to take up your offer to come.
Excellent.
You're always pleasant to to have discussions with. I think that you brings out the best thing, the people who you have around the table. At times, and it's good to be back.
Yes. And now we've been concentrating on the history, and just for the benefit of a listening and viewing audience, I want to point out that while from an official standpoint, we talk about the first constitution that the Cayman Islands got in 1959, but it is your opinion, and I believe this is important, because it is not that we always accept what people have told us, or what scholars or historians have written about a particular country, but we also need to take our history, analyze it, and put it in the proper perspective. And your argument is that in 1832, we had our first constitution. It may not have been a written constitution, but the rules that were laid out by the vestry and justices of the peace were laid out for them in terms of how their proceedings would move forward, their relationship between themselves and the people of the Cayman Islands. That, in effect, was a written constitution. As a matter of fact, in looking through some of the remarks and the reason for them, one of the reasons for the introduction of a constitution was that the UK authorities said that this style that was adopted in the Cayman Islands in the 1830s, in the early 1830s, where there was nothing written, there were rules, but nothing written, that they didn't want that to continue. They wanted to have formalized and written rules, which, was our constitution. Of course, I find that to be almost alarming and almost contradictory, because at the end of the day, the UK operates without a written constitution,
yes,
but more by customs and convention.
That's right.
But that was one of the reasons they said it couldn't continue on that way.
Yes. You see, what a lot of us do not understand is what happened in 1831. I remember speaking about this many, many years ago to another Caymanian lawyer, and he says to me, "Oh, but it was you can't say that because it was illegal." And I say, whether it was an illegal act or not, it happened, and it's written, and it's there, and in fact, in the 1863 Caymanian Act ratified that so-called constitution, ratified all those laws that they had passed between 1832 and 1863. They ratified them. Mm-hmm. They made them valid. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in I think the last time I was here I was pointing out to you that in 1959, on the 3rd of July, the eve of the the first constitution, the first British constitution coming into effect, that one of the members said, Mr. Duncan Merrin said, that was the first constitution that we had.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's what he said. The 1831 was the first constitution. Mm-hmm. He agreed to that and accepted that was the first constitution that we had.
And in reference to the illegality of what was done, what do you do when you are neglected?
Yes.
When you're thought of as being not important to the United Kingdom, you're left isolated. In order for you to survive, you have to form your own rules and your own regulations. And what better way to do it? Do it yourself rather than having someone else do it for you.
But remember, there was no constitutional instrument There was no instrument at all that set out the relationship between Jamaica and Cayman, or the governor in Jamaica and the Caymanian people. There was nothing.
Yes.
What happened is that after the Treaty of Madrid in 1670, when Cayman was ceded, all the territory of Jamaica and Cayman was ceded to the British by the Spaniards, it was just in limbo, and it was said that the governor administered Cayman, but there was no paper, there was no rules, there was no regulation to say how that should be. And in fact, what the governor did, the governor appointed magistrates to carry out his role in the administration of the Cayman Islands. He in other words, he gave people commissions as administrators, as magistrates. The magistrates were the ones who would make a law to regulate whatever they thought similar to what they had in Jamaica, but there was no paper to say, and this is how it's going to happen. This is your responsibility, Mr. Governor. This is the responsibility of the Caymanian people. There was nothing. And because there was nothing written, laying down how we would be regulated by the governor of Jamaica, they just ignored us and left us into this place. And that came home to me when I went to Jamaica for the first time in my life in 1960, when I went there as a young man in the Boy Scouts. Mm-hmm. I remember speaking to Jamaican boys and things, and they would say, "Oh, were you from the small island? We were getting ready to play a cricket match against some of the Jamaica Scouts boys, and they were saying to me, "You play cricket in Cayman?" "Yeah, that's why we play cricket." Well, the guy said, "Well, when you hit the ball, how are you going to get it from the sea?" You know, that kind of attitude
and the mentality.
That kind of mentality is typical of how we were treated. We were treated as small island people who didn't have any sense, who were sailors mostly, who were turtlers mostly, and therefore we had no importance to Jamaica or the governor of Jamaica.
Okay, well, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want you to share with our audience, and I hope we have enough time, if not to read all of it, at least a portion of it, some of the reports that went back to the United Kingdom about the Cayman Islands in those days as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record with Dr. Steve Macfield. We'll be back shortly.
Yes.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
When the United States instituted prohibition between 1919 and 1933, the Cayman Islands utilized the opportunity under Commissioner Hutchings to build the treasury coffers by smuggling liquor through to the United States. In 1923, Hutchings persuaded the Assembly to pass Law No. 2 of 1923, which allowed free entry of all wines, spirits, and spirituous liquors, a mechanism which was used to turn the Cayman Islands into a storage site for liquor to be imported, stored, and subsequently exported for a fee as a means of revenue.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Did you know the third most important factor for customer retention is cleanliness? With 95% of shoppers saying exterior appearance influences where they decide to shop. Keep your business clean with Roper's Janitorial. From offices to restaurants, interior and exterior, walls to rugs and flooring, Roper's cleans it all, including 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Dress your business for success with Roper's Janitorial. We make your business shine. 949-2511.
I just love the warm ocean air.
Yeah? Your car doesn't.
What you mean?
Looks like salt air is eating your bump alive.
Stop rust before it starts with Z-Bot Rust Protection from Vant Motors. The extreme heat, salt spray, and wet tropical weather can damage your vehicle and greatly decrease its value. But Z-Bot's patented formula protects your car's metal seams, joints, and other hidden areas. There's no better rust protection out there than Z-Bot. So book today and keep the rust away. Call or visit Vant Motors Body Shop on Walker's Road. Your only authorized Z-Bot service in Cayman is now available at Vant Motors.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for
It was
a free
day
quote.
that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
JN Money Transfer, in association with Roma United Sports Club, present the official Jamaica Independence celebrations on Friday, August 2nd. Daytime activities take place on Cardinal Avenue from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. with the best Jamaican food, arts and craft display, free sampling, and free health checks. Don't miss the free lunch hour concert, plus lots of prizes and giveaways. Nighttime concert over at Crown Square on Eastern Avenue, featuring international reggae and dancehall superstar Wayne Marshall, alongside Paul Train, Dream Chasers dancers, plus lots of local performers. Come participate in the Kids Talent Contest, Best Dress Competition, Dance Contest, and Hot Wings Eating Contest. Music by DJ Marcus. Come out early to win a 40-inch TV, plus lots of giveaways and prizes. Admission is free. Sponsored by Popeyes, Best Dressed Chicken, Magnum, People's Choice Grocery, Superior Auto, Ideas Marketing, Kmart Hair and Beauty Supply, Danny's Auto, Breeze FM, and Radio Cayman.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve MacPhail. We're going to be joined by Honourable Mayor Lawrence later on, and hopefully Mr. Gilbert McLean as well. Doc, our history, we talk about it. Some people say, we don't know our history, but there are ways for us to find a lot that we don't know, to discover a lot that we don't know if we do the proper research and if we know where to go to find it. This document that you're going to share with us, and I want to say to our listeners and our viewers as well, while the some of the names called in here, those persons will have been deceased already. These are public records, yes. And so we're not revealing or divulging anything that isn't out there in the public domain. You just need to know where to go and find it. So
yes.
If you can share that with our audience.
Yes. Well, first of all, to set the stage, Orrett, is that when the Federation of the West Indies were mooted in 1950s, the Jewel problem was passed was posed of the Cayman Islands' future constitutional relationship with Jamaica and the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the proponents of that relationship against the Federation, one of the proponents was a man in the one of the members of the council.
Mm-hmm.
Was a man called Mr. Duncan Marion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now he was adamant. He along with other members of the Legislative Assembly did not want anything to do with the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember Mrs. Dr. Lawrence
Mm-hmm.
saying, reading the other morning about the things that we wanted.
Yes.
We wanted control of our borders. We wanted no taxes, and we wanted to control our own commerce.
Right.
Now, at the time that was going on, we had a governor of Jamaica called Sir Hugh Foote.
Mm-hmm.
And Sir Hugh Foote writes to his compatriots in the Foreign Commonwealth Office.
Mm-hmm.
Those records are in the archives. They're confidential and secret. But after a long time, like 20, 30, or 35 years, they're now released.
Uh-huh.
You can go to the archives and you can get those records if you tell the archivist what period you like to look at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the 17th of November 1956, Sir Hugh Foote is writing confidentially and secretly to the Foreign Commonwealth Office about this incident with Caymanians, Duncan Marion, and all of those people who were leading the charge that did not want Cayman to join the Federation. And this is what he had to say about one of the Caymanian men at the time, Mr. Duncan Marion. And I'm reading it, what he said. He said, "I have just returned from a visit to the Cayman Islands, and I would let you know what took place. First of all, I should tell you that Duncan Marion recently gave an interview to the Gleaner on the subject of the Cayman attitude to West Indian Federation, and I am enclosing the cuttings from the Gleaner. This statement by Marion has been followed by one or two letters in the Gleaner from many Caymanians supporting his view, from another Caymanian supporting his view that Caymans should stand out from the West Indies Federation. And one letter suggests that the Caymans might join a federation of the Bahamas, Bermuda, and the British Virgin Islands. I have heard from one or two sources over recent weeks that Duncan Marion now likes to picture himself as the champion of Caymanian isolation from federation. And it was a pity that when I was in the Caymans this week, he was away in the United States. The suggestion was made that he had preferred to be absent when I was there, but I doubt if this was justified since I know that he had to go into hospital for a few days in Florida. Duncan Marion is the most active member of the large Marion family, which runs the biggest trading company operating in the Caymans, and particularly since the war, he and his family and his many brothers have made tremendous profits. They own one of the ships that brings supplies to the Caymans, and though there are one or two other traders, principally the McTaggart's family, the Marions in fact fix all retail prices in the Caymans, and there is no other merchant strong enough to stand against them. The amount of profit which they obtain from their retail sales is prodigious, and with so much development going on in Grand Cayman and no income tax, they have been rapidly making a fortune. Amongst other enterprises, they run the Pageant Beach Hotel, and it is the Marions acting with some of their United States associates who have been carrying on out exploration for oil. And I might mention in passing that this is being done in a very inefficient and unsatisfactory way. I have, of course, known Duncan Marion for a number of years. He is a pleasant fellow to meet, but I think that I can fairly say that most of his influence in the Cayman Islands is bad. He extorts unreasonable profits from the ordinary people. He is opposed to anything which will raise the standard of living of the poor people, and did his best to kill the project for an elementary school in Georgetown. And we have had a good deal of evidence that he will adopt almost any methods in his pursuit of private gain. He has repeatedly intrigue against the commissioner, and his rapidly increasing riches have now given him a touch of megalomania. When I arrived in the Caymans, I was soon confirmed from my talks with the commissioner and several Caymanians that Marin's agitation in favor of Caymanian isolation from the West Indies Federation had a widespread influence. Indeed, I think that it was probably true that there was scarcely a man in Caymans who had anything to say in favor of the association of the Caymans with the Federation. I enclose a copy of the resolution which the members of the Assembly which passed before my visit. They gave copies of the resolution to the commissioner and asked him to consult me about it, and I suggested that though they were perfectly free to pass any resolution they wished, they might well like to delay considering the matter further until they had an opportunity of a full disclosure with me. I first had a couple of hours talk with the commissioner and the advisory council, and then I had another good go with the full assembly, and later I addressed a meeting of the assembly at which the public were invited to be present, and quite a number of turned out. I enclosed a copy of the record of what I said, which I gave to the press. You will see from this record that I emphasized to the council, the assembly, though not to the public meeting, that the Caymans are still very much a dependence of Jamaica, and that under the constitutional first instrument, it is possible for the Jamaica legislature to pass any legislation it wishes for the dependencies without even consulting them. And I told the council in confidence that if it is so wished, the Jamaican Executive Council, with its majority of elected Jamaican ministers, could take any executive or administrative action it wished in regard to the dependencies again without consulting them. I reminded them that over the past few years, we had worked out a satisfactory arrangement with Jamaica, under which in practice Jamaican ministers had not sought to intervene unreasonably in dependencies' affairs, and had moreover agreed to consult with dependencies before passing legislation which will affect them. I said that the time had now come with the revision of the Jamaican Constitution when we could hope to provide in the constitutional instrument for the system which we had effectively worked out as a practical arrangement. I tried to put it over to them that this was the most important purpose of all, and that if, as I confidentially hope, we could in a year or two reach a final and satisfactory conclusion in this difficult matter of the relationship between Caymans and Jamaica. I felt sure that we could satisfactorily work out an equally satisfactory relationship between the Caymans and the new federation. Caymans.
Doc, I'm going to stop you there because we reached the 8 o'clock news. When we return from the news, we will continue from that spot where you just left off. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 8 o'clock.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore. Access information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. Starting August 1st, you'll see changes at 7 Mile Public Beach as work on the final phase of a $3 million project undertaken by DART in collaboration with the Cayman Islands government gets underway. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
The 7 Mile Beach Enhancement Project is now in its third and final phase. The focus is on upgrades to the existing parking areas, including the addition of designated food vendor parking spots. While the work is underway, there will be temporary parking at the empty lot east of the existing parking parking lot. When the third phase is complete, private vehicles will no longer be able to drive directly onto the beach. A press release from the Public Lands Commission says it is a safety decision with an aim of, quote, preventing future instances of reckless driving near the cabanas and soccer pitch. The ongoing works include the addition of new walking paths around the existing children's playground, improvements to the volleyball courts, and the construction of a new vendor area and restroom block. Public Lands Commission Chief Inspector Winsome Prendergast says the new vendor area will make it easier for the regulatory body to manage commercial activity on public beach. And where it's practical, vendors will be relocated and restricted to the purpose-built vendor village designated area or the car park. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
Right now, the new southern pathway is open and the Moby Map has been temporarily relocated to ensure continued beach access for people with disabilities. Throughout the project, the public will still be able to access and book beach cabanas. A public meeting at Constitution Hall provides a way for the community to learn more and provide input into efforts to revitalize the capital.
For the past probably 10 years, Georgetown has been slowly regressing, and the government saw it necessary to spark this revitalization effort to reinvigorate Georgetown and bring business and life back to Georgetown.
Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, Tristan Hides, tells Radio Cayman plans include creating more green space, encouraging pedestrians, and looking at creative ways to draw the community back into the capital. The Cayman chapter of the Northern Caribbean University Alumni Association announces its second 4-year scholarship to attend the Jamaica-based university. Radio Cayman's Keely Ebanks has more.
The first 4-year scholarship was awarded to Sonia Ashari Bailey at the Jacqueline Carr concert at the Lions Center on the 30th of June. The scholarship, fully funded by a local donor, covers tuition, books, and boarding. Ms. Patricia Ebanks, president of the Cayman chapter of the NCU Alumni Association, says the group is moved by the enormous demonstration of goodwill by the community and show donors' concerns for and commitment to the well-being of the youth of the Cayman Islands. She thanks them for their community spirit and generosity. The June 30th concert and a youth convocation sponsored by the Judicial Administration were the high points of the chapter's 5-day youth outreach effort that featured U.S. motivational speaker and 3-time Grammy-nominated singer Jacqueline Carr. All public and private secondary schools and more than 50 youth organizations were invited to nominate representatives to attend the June 28th Judicial Administration's Youth Convocation held at the Grand Court. In addition to the youth convocation and the concert, the Singers Cayman tour with the theme Unleash Your Potential and Hold Fast to Your Values included visits to Northwood and Fairbanks prisons, Cayman Academy, and churches. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Keely Ebanks.
Scholarship awardee Sonia Bailey will commence her studies at NCU in September, pursuing a bachelor's degree in education. Organizers of Taste of Cayman had decided to keep the Food and Drink Festival in April, announcing that it will be held on the 4th in 2020 at the Festival Green at Cayman Bay.
We were delighted with the feedback received from food and drink vendors, volunteers, and attendees, and we're very pleased to announce the event will once again take place in April 2020.
Julie Allen is chair of the festival committee. She says the 2020 festival will mark 32 years of shining a light on Cayman's rich culinary history. And finally, Wizards and Witches hit the stage this afternoon in an original production, Murder at Pig Snorts.
Come see Murder at Pig Snorts at the Prospect Playhouse.
Created by 13 to 16-year-olds, this play is on at 3:30 p.m. on Friday, 19th July.
Kids go free. Adults are $5. These must be bought in advance at cds.ky.
Actors there from Cayman Drama Society's Teen Summer Camp who've written and will perform this afternoon's show. The premise? Pig Snorts is Cayman's magical school of wizardry, where Professor Doorknob will get you sorted before sending you to potions class. But all is not as it seems, as there is a murder to investigate. Mixing a fun sense of humor with the darkness of a murder mystery, this show is set to be very interesting. Again, the performance takes place at 3:30 today, with doors opening at 3:15. The performance is about 15 minutes long. Head to cds.ky to buy your ticket. And that's your latest news. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here,
adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching Yellow's print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Pleasant good morning. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 83 degrees. Relative humidity is 86%. Barometric pressure 29.99 inches and rising. The wind is northeast at 3 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate cloudiness and showers associated with the interaction between an upper level low and a tropical wave over the Cayman area is expected today. Therefore, the Cayman area can expect a decrease in cloudiness and showers from this evening as the wave pushes through the area. Now, the wave will move west of the area this evening, and radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving west. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and thunder. Temperatures will be in the low 90s. Your winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. The forecast for tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and some possible thunder, and showers will be locally heavy at times tonight. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Your winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 10:51, low tide this afternoon at 4:50, and a high tide again tonight at 11:40. Sunset 7:05, sunrise 5:58, and the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning.
Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Super Stitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
And that familiar theme tells us once again time to check on traffic. Steady traffic on Crew Road, and traffic steady but flowing on Shamrock Road and the Linford Pearson Highway. And as you get further down to town, a little busy there. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady but flowing traffic. And traffic also steady but flowing on Huldah Avenue. Moderate flow of traffic on Thomas Russell Way, as well as Eastern Avenue and on Godfrey Nixon Way. Coming from the West Bay 4-way stop, moderate flow of traffic, and traffic flowing light to moderate on Owen Roberts Drive, Edward Street, moderate flow of traffic as well as on Shedden Road. And on North Sun Road, traffic is moderate. If you see accidents or incidents on Cayman's roads, give us a call here at Radio Cayman 949-6-990. Have a good morning and drive safe, Cayman Islands.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Radio Cayman 3 to 6 mix on the weekdays. Brought to you by
Cayman Insurance Center, serving the community for 45 years. Don't take chances with your family's future. Call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433. Fitness Plus and Train with Dre. Getting in shape has never been easier with the mobile fitness app by Train with Dre and the new Eco Power Sport Art Equipment.
Every day.
All the time.
Visit fitnessplus.com for more information. And City Walk, serving Chinese, Japanese, and Filipino dishes until 11 p.m. each night. East meets West at City Walk. Dine in, take out, or order online. See their full menu at citywalk.ky. Call 947-9965.
Ultimate Party Show in the afternoon. Radio Cayman Super Jam.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit-K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit Brit-K.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit-K, where people come first.
Summer means sunscreen, a lot of it. But this year, you can make the reef-friendly choice in sunscreen. At Healthcare Pharmacy in Governors Square and Grand Harbor, you can find Ocean Potion and Australian Gold Botanical Sunscreen. Ocean Potion is reef-friendly, oxybenzone-free, antioxidant-enriched, and contains no added parabens. Australian Gold is also phthalate-free, hypoallergenic, and was not tested on animals. So make the right choice in sunscreen this summer with Healthcare Pharmacy, Governors Square and Grand Harbor.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me is Dr. Steve McField. We are sharing with you the Cayman Islands monthly political secret reports, which were compiled by the governor of Jamaica and distributed to the West Indian departments of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. They included the Secretary of State for the colonies and other departments as well, even embassies in Washington, British embassies in Washington, British embassies in Havana, Cuba. I will remind you that the names of prominent Caymanians who are now passed on are mentioned in those reports. We're not doing it in any way to denigrate or to defame the persons named in these reports, but it is a part of our history. It's a part of our history that we need to know. You have heard Dr. Steve McField, for instance, in the past, talk about their efforts to elect 3 black Georgetown men to our legislative assembly. And they were successful in doing so. And what they were told by one family member of one prominent Caymanian that is named in this report, that person didn't have time to spend in the legislative assembly. He had to take care of his business. And that is why they put those black Georgetowners in to the legislative assembly. Dr. Steve McField.
Yeah, and I think what Caymanians should understand that these reports are still continuing every month, going to the Foreign Commonwealth Office. And if they think that the people in the United Kingdom don't understand what's happening here and who they are and probably dossiers on anyone who speaks on a radio show or writes a letter to the press. Dossiers are kept on everybody, and these documents are now released after so many years. They were kept secret and private and confidential. So after so many years, they're released, and you can get them from the Public Records Office now in Jamaica and from the archives here. So the Governor Foote went on to say, the Caymanians over the past year or two have got so used to feeling that they are free from interference from Jamaica that they are surprised, not to say shocked, to be reminded that the constitutional position is, and both in the Council and the Assembly, they are impressed by the argument that they should first settle their relationship with Jamaica and then in good time, with good sense, tackle the question of their relationship with the Federation. They all agreed with me that this was not the time for declarations and for deliberations and discussions. This was my main immediate object, to prevent the Caymanians from taking up any position by formal declarations or resolutions at this stage, and I am glad to be able to say that our discussions were entirely friendly. Indeed, when the discussions with the Council and the Assembly finished, there were no open disagreements with the general proposition which I put to them. That does not mean that the opposition to the Caymans being associated with the West Indian Federation has disappeared. Far from it. Even before I left the Caymans, I gathered that private debate and as disagreement has been pursued, that many people were speculating on the irritation of Duke Merrin's when he gets back. As to the next step, it was agreed by the Council and the Assembly that a small deputation from the Cayman Islands should meet the Jamaican delegation to the Standing Federation Committee before Standing Federation Committee meets at the end of January. Before I went to Caymans, the intention of the Caymanians had been to send a Cayman delegation to be present in Jamaica when that Standing Federation Committee meets. But the Assembly fully agrees with me that it should be better for the discussions with the Jamaica delegation to take place before the meeting of the Standing Federation Committee. I had previously discussed the matter with Manley, who was quite prepared to meet a Cayman delegation fairly early in January. Meanwhile, as I have said, the Assembly agreed with me that there should be no public declarations. I don't pretend that we are out of the wood. Duke Merrin will, I believe, do everything he can to whip up renewed opposition to Cayman Association with Federation, but he will not find everyone in agreement with him in future. And I think that there is fairly general support for the argument which I put to the Assembly, that which the most important thing is to settle the future constitutional relationship of the Caymans with Jamaica, leaving the opposition of relationship with Federation to be dealt with in the future. I think that it is the most important point. And had I gone to the Caymans merely to tell the Assembly that the Caymanians who had no wish to be associated with the West Indian Federation were wrong, I do not think that any useful purpose would have been made. As things are, members of the Assembly are much more inclined to give their minds to the more important question of their own internal constitution and the relationship with Jamaica, and to treat the question of relationships with the federal government as a secondary and indeed a subsidiary issue. I shall let you know how this interesting situation develops. Meanwhile, I think that it can be said that some useful progress has been made. My only regret was that Merrin was not there when I was. Signed, yours ever, Hugh Foote. And that was a letter that Hugh Foote sent to his bosses in England concerning the relationships that we were going through then with Jamaica, and blaming Mr. Duke Merrin for not inciting and providing the Cayman Islands people with knowledge of to have a closer relationship with the Federation. Right. But that's what they think about us. And if we think that they think that we are all such great people, and even though we may be locally we might be pompous and strut around and say that we're great. That's how they think about us. They don't think very much about us when the time comes that they have to write about us and put it to their bosses about us. That's how they think.
Yep. Now, you mentioned the proposed meeting and the fact that Manlou was prepared to meet with a delegation from the Cayman Islands, and that was in January. Then we see in the Cayman Times newspaper that was, of course, printed by the Gleaner in Jamaica and brought to Cayman every Friday. Their headline for the 14th of January 1957 speaks about the Big Four on a historic mission, and the Big Four then were Messrs. T.W. Farrington, E.D. Marin, that would have been Mr. Ducan Marin, O.L. Panton, and Mr. Ernest Panton as well. Now, I believe that there is something in there that he speaks to in relation to the passing of the Mr. Ducan Marin as well. And folks, I want to remind you that what we're reading here, it is not to impugn the character of any individual, but this is a part of our history, and we need to know about the actions and the intentions of those persons who were a part of the government of the Cayman Islands at that point in time. And if they weren't a part of the government, they were certainly part of the ruling class that had control over almost every aspect of our lives here in the Cayman Islands. You found that?
I haven't found that. I found it, but I think I lost it.
Okay. What we'll do, we'll take a commercial break. When we return, we will have more of this secret report to share with you, so please stay tuned.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Summertime is when Cayman Airways full of people are travel to Jamaica. If you're late for checking your flight, you will lose your seat. Remember now, check-in time for Cayman Airways flight is 2 hours before departure. Make sure you're not late.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve Macfield. We hope to be joined by others later on as well. Dr. Macfield, we're having difficulty finding the exact pages for that, but what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to paraphrase what was the mood and what the Governor, Sir Kenneth Blackburn, would have Sir Hugh Foot would have conveyed again in secret at the passing of Mr. Duncan Marin, and the mood in terms of the political transition of the leadership of the party from Mr. Duncan Marin to Mr. T.W. Farrington, Honorable T.W. Farrington, of course, one of our national heroes as well. Huh?
Yeah, they were. He was very happy that Duncan had passed, and that T.W. Farrington had now taken up the leadership of the party, and he says that people were relieved that the sting had gone out of the end of the Christian Democratic Party with Duncan's passing. That's the word he used. The sting had gone.
And then he said that not a tear had been shed by O.L. Panton at the funeral. And then after that, then it seemed as if things were cordial between Mr. Panton and Mr. Farrington,
because they shook hands. Mm-hmm. They shook hands, and that's what he said, that things were cordial between them and they shook hands. So these are the secret papers that have now been released. People can go and get them and read them if they would like to have them, to see how their country has developed and how their country continues to be developed under the system of administration that now exists. Mm-hmm. Now turn into the Earl of Asquith's report. Mm-hmm. It's not unusual. It's not nothing is new. Nothing is new here, because even then, the Earl of Asquith's report talked about constitutional change and constitutional development. I'm trying to find that now. So here we are in 2019, and whether we further ahead, that is for the listener and the reader to gather. Mm-hmm. Whether we have what progress we have made constitutionally, and what we have made constitutionally, and whether or not we have actually become more in control of our country than we had ever been. I don't believe so. Okay. I think that other people control our destiny, and until we get that under our own control, we are going to not be able to say that we are kings in our own country. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, the Earl of Asquith Oxford and Asquith made recommendations for constitutional change back in 1971. Mm-hmm. They made their report. And it's very interesting what they said here, why the Caymanian people felt the way they felt, and probably why Mr. Duncan-Merrin behaved the way he behaved also, according to the Governor Hugh Foote.
Okay.
This is what they say in Section 6 of their report. Finally, their experience is talking about the Caymanians. Finally, their experience of isolation and neglect for long periods in the past, together with their capacity for surviving this and fending for themselves, has given them a taste, not indeed for independence in the political sense, but for non-interference. This ambivalent attitude is an essential part of their makeup and raises problems as regards both their administration and their constitutional future. What they want is not self-government, but a protective government which will largely leave them to themselves. They are happy to be law-abiding as long as there are not too many laws. That is what Asquith said. Mm-hmm. Now that report went on to make recommendations for a constitution, a modern constitution for the Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. It's very lengthy, so I won't go into all that because I don't have the time right now. But it's very important to note that they recommended qualifications for membership in the Assembly. They recommended qualification for electors. They recommended qualification for people to be able to be registered. Mm-hmm. For committees. They recommended the recommendation for Finance Committee for the presiding officer of the Assembly. They recommended recommendation for the administrator's reserve powers and for dissolution of the Assembly. And they recommended that the Assembly be for 4 years instead of the 3 years that it was before, and that they recommended that there will be 6 constituencies with varied size as we had before. They recommended all of that stuff. But what's important here to me today is the report of the Select Committee in the Assembly, and it says at the meeting of the Legislative Assembly on the 12th of August 1969, the following private members' motion, number 3, moved by Ms. Annie Holder Borden, MLA for Georgetown, and seconded by C.A. Hunter, MLA for the Bordentown District, was passed unanimously by the House. Whereas a stage of development has been reached in the Cayman Islands when it is considered advisable that the elected representatives of the people in the Legislative Assembly should have more authority and control in managing the affairs of the Cayman Islands. And whereas it is felt that this could be achieved only by a change in the present constitution of the Cayman Islands, whereby the people representatives in the Legislative Assembly would have and take part in all matters pertaining to the government of the colony and the authority to carry out their responsibilities in all phases as representatives of the people. Be it resolved that a select committee consisting of the elected members of this Honourable House be appointed to go into this matter and make recommendations to Her Majesty's Government for some form of an advanced constitution for the Cayman Islands, the quorum of which the select committee should be 9. And they recommended, and one of the things that they recommended, there should be no nominated members, that there would be a Legislative Assembly. They recommended the qualifications also, that you had to be Caymanian and you had to have Caymanian status to be a member of the Legislative Assembly. And they recommended the qualifications for electors. And they recommended who should be in the Executive Council. Mm-hmm. And they recommended for a Bill of Rights. So the Bill of Rights is not something new. The Bill of Rights came from the people of the Cayman Islands themselves. This is what they said. Protection of fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual. The following should be written into the Constitution. Fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual, protection of right to life, protection from inhuman treatment, protection from slavery and forced labor, protection from arbitrary arrest or detention, provision for secure protection of law, protection for privacy of home and other property, protection of freedom of conscience, protection of freedom of expression, protection of freedom of movement, protection from discrimination on the grounds of race, etc., protection from deprivation of property. And that report was signed by C.A. Hunter, the chairman, T.W. Farrington, W.W. Conley, Alfred Scott, Trevor Foster, John D. Jefferson, Ira Walton, Craddock Ebanks, and B.O. Ebanks.
Okay.
And one of the things that Miss Annie was adamant about, and one of the last things that was adamant about was that they were adamant about, and this was signed by Miss Huldah Borden and Berkeley Bush. Before any change is made in the Constitution, the public should be informed of any proposed changes and or amendments. Respectfully submitted, signed, and Huldah Borden and Alan Berkeley Bush.
Okay, so they say that the public should be consulted.
Yes,
but there was no call then for a referendum on any changes to the Constitution.
No, they said the public should be consulted before any changes made.
Okay, because in 1972, in our 1972 Constitution, there is a provision in there for a referendum.
Yes.
To be initiated by the Legislative Assembly, I believe it is.
But remember now, this report came before the 1972 Constitution.
Yes.
So it was from these reports, from these meetings that they had, that the 1972 Constitution was formed. And so, meanwhile, Ms. Anna Borden and Mr. Berkeley Bush say that there should, before any changes made in the Constitution, the public should be informed. The framers went on to say not only the public should be informed, but there should be a referendum.
Okay. Now, as regard our current situation, there are still some people who are saying that they don't know what the proposals are in terms of constitutional amendments to our current 2009 Constitution. Now, there was a statement, the Premier made a statement on Cayman's constitutional amendments, Monday the 17th of December 2018 to the Legislative Assembly. And he makes it quite clear that he says here, Mr. Speaker, as you know, we sought these discussions in the aftermath of a breach of convention and possible constitutional overreach, which in May this year, the House of Commons legislated for the British Overseas Territories in the area of domestic policy. And so he makes it quite clear that these talks and the impetus for this was the overreach by the UK government. Now, in that overreach, including in that overreach, there were other issues that were being raised as far as constitutional changes are concerned as well. And it is quite clear that the then leader of the opposition and the Premier were in agreement with those changes. And he goes on, the Premier also in his statement goes on to say, he says, Mr. Speaker, everyone in this House would be aware of the challenges that the UK government is now going through with Brexit, challenges that are impacting the UK's internal politics. In recent days, there was even a no-confidence vote called on the Prime Minister within her party. The Prime Minister won that round, but things are still poised on a knife's edge politically in the UK. These safeguards we seek on behalf of the Cayman Islands cannot be allowed to be caught up in the UK's internal Brexit cauldron as it heats and boils. So I am grateful to the UK government for seeking to conclude these negotiations as quickly as possible. This is also in our interests, so that I believe this House, commit ourselves to seeing this through as best we can within a reasonable time frame early next year. That was, and this was being said in 2018, December of 2018. Said, and he went on to say, following debate and if approved by the Legislative Assembly and subsequently by Her Majesty's Privy Council, the proposed changes are expected to come into effect in time for the 60th anniversary of anniversary constitutional celebrations in July of 2019. Of course, that didn't occur, but it is quite clear from there that there is no anticipation, as far as the Premier is concerned, of any referendum taking place to seek approval for these changes, which means that he must be, and I would imagine that the then leader of the opposition shared his view as well, that these were not changes that rose to the level of that requires a referendum. Something like, for instance, in our Constitution, it specifically states that the question of independence must be decided by a referendum.
In other words, there has to be some significant change. Some significant change has some significant change must be proposed for it to go to a referendum.
Precisely,
and a change that is very significant. As the Constitution says, would be a change where you were seeking independence.
Yes.
But anything other than that, the Constitution is silent on whether you have to have a referendum or not. So, but just let me finish off these.
Let's see, Ms. Susan, we have about 2 minutes before the break. You want to take the break? And then, we'll take the break, and I'll give you time so that we don't have to interrupt what you're saying again. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
I just love the warm ocean air.
Yeah? Your car doesn't.
What you mean?
Looks like salt air's eating your bump alive.
Stop rust before it starts with Z-Bot Rust Protection from Vant Motors. The extreme heat, salt spray, and wet tropical weather can damage your vehicle and greatly decrease its value. But Z-Bot's patented formula protects your car's metal seams, joints, and other hidden areas. There's no better rust protection out there than Z-Bot. So book today and keep the rust away. Call or visit Vant Motors Body Shop on Walker's Road. Your only authorized Z-Bot service in Cayman is now available at Vant Motors.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking or rusting cans after they have come in contact with flood water. Also discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have now been joined in the studio by the Honorable Mayor Lawrence, former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. Ms. Lawrence, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to Mr. Dr. McField.
Good morning,
You
madam.
see how easily a word can change something? You almost left that former out.
All right, yes.
And you and I both would have been in trouble.
But you know, in other jurisdictions, for instance, in the United States, they don't say former. They refer to the to the whole of the person. Like if they speak of John Boehner, they still speak of him, Mr. Speaker, even though he's not the current Speaker. Yeah, still the President. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
But we sometimes hear, we're a little touchy, the people say.
My chair keeps going down with
okay,
me.
We'll have that change for you. We'll have that change. Okay.
So we're back to the Constitution again. That's some interesting stuff you all are reading. I think you should finish that. That's very interesting.
Just let you finish just because what we were talking about was in the 50s when Hugh Foote was governor of Jamaica and governor of the Cayman Islands. Now, and his successors then continued writing the Cayman Islands intelligence reports to the FCO, to the Foreign Commonwealth Office, secret. Those secret reports continued. And this was some of the excerpts of a report in March 1964 by Hugh Foote's successor. He said, in the past, the majority of these merchants have devoted all their thoughts and energies to the persecution of their intense commercial, religious, and family rivalries, and uniting only to protect their wealth against any form of direct taxation. They have remained oblivious to the economic and commercial potential of the islands as a whole. This sudden interest could mean that they intend to close their ranks against the possibility of foreign commercial domination, and in so doing, they could only reflect the attitude of any Caymanians who would welcome a firm challenge to foreign business interests by local private enterprises. And he went on to say, the death of Mr. Edgar Duncan Marion, after a series of heart attacks, leaves the leadership of the Christian Democratic Party in the hands of Mr. T.W. Farrington, member of the Legislative Assembly. And the public's assessment of this new situation is that the sting has now been removed from this party's tail. Mr. O.L. Panton, the leader of the National Democratic Party, remains dry-eyed during the lying in state at the funeral 1 week later, and subsequently he and Mr. Farrington have exchanged civilities in public. And another thing that interested me here was what the report about labor. It says national bus carriers, the American-owned Flight Convenience Shipping Company, have lodged a strong worded complaint about the low caliber of young Caymanian seamen supplied to the company in the last 2 or 3 years, accusing them of indolence and possessing a false sense of this responsibility, the company has stated that it will be obliged to revise its recruitment policy if the caliber of future intakes does not improve. This is a serious threat to the future livelihood of young Caymanian seamen, and one which will not be overlooked by the government of these islands. A preliminary investigation, however, indicates that the company's local agent and the Global Seamen's Union have been supplying young seamen on the basis of quantity instead of quality, and this erroneous policy can be corrected immediately. That is what the administrator of the time wrote to the Foreign Commonwealth Office. So anyone who wants to get these documents, they can go to the archives and they can get them. The documents that I'm reading from is called the Cayman Islands Monthly Political Reports, 1963 to 1965, secret. And now that they've I think it's after 30 years or something like that, they've been released. You can go and you can read about what they said about us. All the reports that went up to England about us, you can read them. And they're very, very interesting. There are all kinds of reports here too about who they think that has set the fire to Government House, which I will not read this morning.
Yeah, there's always been speculation, in terms of what caused that fire at the Government House. But if we have something that is actually documented, officially documented, there's nothing wrong with us sharing that at some point in time. I don't believe that it will be libelous or slanderous in any way. It will just simply be reflecting the records.
Exactly.
And sometimes we need to remove the veil and just put everything out in the open. Before I go any further, Madam Speaker, before we talk about Constitution, I note that the late Clayton Nixon's house on Goring Avenue is slated for removal and bringing it to Bordentown. Now, I'm a Bordentowner myself, and but I'm also a Georgetowner. And while we have no doubt that Bordentowners will preserve and will take care of it, that is a part of the history of Georgetown. Is there any reason why we shouldn't find a place for it in Georgetown, document the history of it? We still have people around like Niels and Nicholson Godfrey and other people who live on Goring Avenue who know about the history of that home, and I hope and I trust that people from the Museum, National Trust, or whomever have all of that documented. If not, they need to go and visit people like Niels and Nicholson Godfrey and get that information so that we ensure that we accurately record, as accurately as possible, record the history. But Georgetown should find a place for Mr. Clayton Nixon's house.
Mr. Connor, I wonder myself, why are they bringing it to Bordentown? Because they don't like to come to Bordentown. So why are they sending it to Bordentown? And it is a historical house. There must be one little square foot of land in Georgetown that they can move it to.
If not by land.
And that's right. They can do anything else. They can do that. We have the house out there on the corner, Miss Louise Llewellyn's house. And that should be, as far as I'm concerned, preserved for its historical value for Georgetown. And there's property there on that. There's enough space on that to add the other house if they want to do it. To me, it's a very irrational move, because how they're going to get that house to Bordentown is a big question. It's very delicate as it is. Even if they banded it together with all the straps they could find, there's a very little chance it's going to arrive there in one piece. But when they get it there, how are they going to get it to the Mission House property? This has nothing to do with us. This is the National Trust. But They have 2.75 acres of property there, but most of it is swamp. And they cannot bring that house through Gun Square. You can hardly get a car through there. You can't bring it through Cumb Avenue. The same thing applies there. If you go down Danton, Bodden Drive, we have Heritage Lane and a parking spot lot, in fact, at the back of the Bodden Town Heritage Centers. But it has a very narrow lane crossing the pond that you walk over after you've parked your car to events that we hold in our area. How are they going to get that house in there? I mean, somebody must have some special, maybe they're going to take it up by the helicopter and drop it down, I don't know. But it is a ridiculous plan, and it is a ridiculous idea. They moved the one that was on Mary Street, and they put that out at Pedro Castle. And remember, the Bodden's home from Mary Street ended up at Pedro Castle. And who even know the history of that house? Who is there to tell you the history of that house? What is it? How are they incorporating these things, these moves that they're making into the history of the country so that the people can see it and understand what's going on? And I don't know what the plan is there, but it certainly doesn't seem to be a very logical one to me. And if I was a Georgetown, I would protest that to high heaven.
Okay. Doc, let's talk a little bit. And we can include Miss Mary in this because she knows about Georgetown as well. So she mentioned Miss Louise's house. We mentioned Mr. Clayton Nixon. Then we have Miss Arlett's house there. We're talking about revitalization of Georgetown, right? Now, I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe I saw a sign on Miss Louise's property that the property is for sale.
That's right.
Has been for a long time.
Why does not the Cayman Islands government acquire that property? Why wait until someone else acquires it, and then they're going to seek to make that little roundabout there a little bigger, and then they're going to have to, squabble with the landowner for that? I'm sure we're operating on a surplus. We have money. It will be money well spent for part of the revitalization of Georgetown. You want to have tourist attraction for Georgetown? Then you have that. You have guided tours of those houses and everything else there. Local employment for people as well, because we don't want anybody with a foreign accent as a guy telling, tourists, about our Caymanian history as well. Provide some employment for local people as well. I'm sure, if it costs a couple of $1 million, I don't think the people of the Cayman Islands would argue about that when it comes to us trying to retain some land for ourselves. Well, of course, when I say for ourselves, I'm talking about the Crown, because it's not for us until we become an independent country.
But it is for the future generations.
Yes.
I had spoken both with different government members, both about the Miss Louise house and Miss Arlett's house, and offered for my team, that is, if you come to Bodden Town, you can see what the restoration can look like in our house, the Webster's house in Bodden Town, the William Webster's house, to come and help them put it together and set it up to preserve what's in it, because everything, it has to be very carefully documented and saved, But, of course, no offers. Nobody took up the offer. And it would make a nice little old center for Georgetown.
Yes.
And you walk from that to the glass house, which I hope and pray they do not put a wrecking ball in, that they will preserve that as a museum where Cayman's history, its modern, its development from 1950 to the present day can be showcased. People do not know who we are and how it happened. And that would show it. And then you could have a nice area where you talk about revitalization. Every person coming off those cruise ships would go there. Every person visiting the island. Let me tell you something. I had my grandson's in-laws are here, and they're from Switzerland. And I took them on a tour of Georgetown this week. And they kept saying, well, can we get a brochure? Can we get a brochure? And, of course, there's no such thing. But when I got to the Elms Memorial Church, I was pleasantly surprised when you walk in the Duravat, because I took them there, when you walk in the Duravat, on the back wall as you enter, there is a book, a magazine rack. And they have printed a history of the church, just a little fold-over booklet, 1-2 pages, like a program would be for a funeral or something, in every language imaginable.
Wow.
And they were so pleased that they could pick it up in the German language and read it.
Excellent, excellent. We pass our 9 o'clock break. When we return, the conversation with Dr. Steve McPhail and Honorable Mayor Lawrence will continue. Dr. McPhail has to leave us at about 9:15, but the speaker will be here with us as well. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. We will also open the phone lines for you.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
FPS officers, members of the Cayman Islands Tourism Association, and owners and managers of businesses on the 7 Mile Beach area came together recently for a meeting of the 7 Mile Beach Business Watch. The group meets once a month at different locations to discuss various issues such as disaster management, trade and business license compliance, and turtle-friendly lighting. The Dutch Supreme Court has upheld a ruling that the Netherlands was partially responsible for 350 deaths in Bosnia's Srebrenica massacre. The court said the state had 10% liability, as this was the probability that its soldiers could have prevented the killings. Bosnian Serb forces killed a total of 8,000 Muslim men in the town in 1995. The Dutch had been guarding the UN safe zone when it was overrun. A strong earthquake has shaken the Greek capital of Athens, knocking out phone networks and power in parts of the city. The 5.1 magnitude had an epicenter just northwest of Athens. Residents ran out into the streets and evacuated tall buildings as the tremor shook the capital for some 15 seconds. There were no reports of serious injuries, but several aftershocks have been felt. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McPhail and Honorable Mayor Lawrence. We have a caller going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay. Good morning to Miss Mayor Lawrence and Dr. McPhail.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I have a question and then a comment. Is there anything in the Constitution when it comes to the sale of land in Cayman Islands, whether it's private or government-owned land?
There's something in there in terms of the governor's ability to dispose of lands in the Cayman Islands. That's in there.
Well, sir.
Well, just let me speak, Ms. Lawrence, and then I hang up. You can speak.
Go ahead,
please. What I'm concerned about is you have 600 students graduating every year in Cayman. And I'm wondering if there's any law in place that, for example, not one individual is able to buy up so much land, such as Dart. If he was to buy up so much land, what land would our young people have in the future? And none of them would be able to buy the land back from Dart. Mm-hmm. And also, if there's any law in place that is in place that we're able to save land for these young people. And the price of the land is not able to go up so much that when they're old enough to buy land, they can't afford it, because some of our young people, not all of them are going to be making $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So I'm wondering if it's anything in place concerning the sales of land, because Captain Shelby, he had the opportunity of buying land when he was at sea, and he was a very wise man in doing so. And while he was still alive, he stopped selling land and said that he was saving the rest of the land for his children and his grandchildren. So that's a great concern of mine, because if we have a lot of rich people coming here and they buy up all the land, then what land do we have left for our young people coming out of school and in the future? And like I said, we have 600 young people graduating every year. Thank you very much.
Well, I think it is incumbent upon not the government as much as it is for us as individuals to ensure that if we have land, that we try to keep it if it is possible, so that we can pass it on to other generations. And those of us who don't have, if you're in a position that you can purchase it, because anything that the government purchases, and it is normally done through the National Trust, it's preserved for the people of the Cayman Islands. But if you want to preserve something individually for your family members, then you need to take that individual initiative to do so.
Of course, and that is because of the lack of proper education about the system and which we are operating under. And I remember when I was doing first year economics, and one of my professors said things to the effect that land was the foundation of the whole source of all wealth, and so forth. And that is the reasons why Caymanians in the old days they were wealthy with land. They didn't have cash, but they were wealthy with the land and were proud of it. And many families acquired a large amount of wealth by acquiring land. It's very important, very interesting to see the Minority Report on the 12th of June 1970 by Miss Anna Haldenbod and Berkeley Bush. What they said generally in their report, in their legislative assembly, they say the administrator shall not have the right to dispose of any government-owned property without the full knowledge and consent of the legislative assembly, and the government shall not have the right to acquire any property from individual who own the same unless proper compensation is paid to the landowner. So even then, back then, they knew that land was a very important thing, and that's why they passed that. They included that in the Minority Report that they passed in the Asquith and report. So it's Caymanians are the ones. I remember our family, we had a lot of property, and although my grandfather died broke, had no cash, but had he not saved the land that he had, our family would have been landless, and a lot of our family got their wealth through the foundation of the land that he left behind. He all Cricket Square was belonged to us all, where Cayman Bay was belonged to us. So lots of property we had, and the problem with us now is that is the motor car and the laptop and the this and the that these material things that only last for a few minutes, for a few years, that we now seek to obtain instead of obtaining something that will last forever. And the problem is like somebody said to me one time, the thing about Cayman is that they're not making any more land in Cayman. Whereas other people, they can dredge up land and extend the property. They can't do that in Cayman, and they're not doing that in Cayman. And Caymanians will know.
Then
now,
you have not driven along from up by Hurley's place all the way down, where they allow them to go out and build out into the ocean, and then take the bush down as though the land had been there before.
Okay.
I didn't see that.
Yes. And of course, I need to explain to our audience also that when the Constitution, when it speaks about the governor's ability to dispose of lands, it's really the governor and cabinet that they're talking about. So it's cabinet. To
well, one of the things that the government did in recent years was to remove the section from the law that said that they had to come to the Legislative Assembly to have the full approval for the sale of any government property. And that was removed and placed solely in the hands of the cabinet. So the cabinet can sell anything, and you don't know it's been sold until after you see somebody else in possession of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we have one caller. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning. I think that conversation going on there this morning is very important to the whole Cayman Islands community. And I think a lot of it speaks to the quest for freedom of Caymanians. And, you know, there have been so many pointers along the way, and sometimes when you listen to all these things, you got to reflect that Caymanians of that era were very well read. I mean, I'm not sure where they found all of the.
Because very astute is the word.
Yeah. The inspiration for some of these things, these utterances that you have heard repeated, and I just like to repeat a few quotations here of people who have gone on before us who went through all of this. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Freedom is always within the framework of destiny." Now, think about that. And as far as the future, because that's where we're all at. That's where we're all headed. Alfred North Whitehead in 1938 said about the future, "The future is big with every possibility for achievement and of tragedy." Now, Edward Wire in 19 said about the future, "The future is like a corridor into which we can only see by the light coming from the past." So knowing our past prepares us to know where we best can go in the future. And I think programs like this, you know, is very advantageous. And it's a pity that within the 19, and there could be more radio stations in the Cayman Islands that we have now, don't have these kind of programs continuously. Because we have so many people coming within our society that know nothing about who Caymanians are, who a Caymanian is or was. So that's just my little piece for the morning, and good show, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Before we go to commercial break, I want to introduce and say good morning to Mr. Gilbert McLean, who has joined us as well. Mr. McLean, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, OC, and good morning to your listeners at home and abroad. And I know now you have to go to a break, so maybe I'll get a chip in at
you
when
certainly
you come
will.
back.
You certainly will. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
This is JJ the Iceman. This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins, a magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Command, 8 to 10. Music on Express. Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express.
Radio K-Man's Music Express is brought to you by Taster's Choice, home of the $3 meal special.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
And welcome back to For the Record. We're going to turn the mic back over to Dr. Steve Macfield because he has to leave us in a few minutes. So I want to give him an opportunity, even though he's had the mic most of the morning as well. But we want to give him an opportunity for some final points and comments before he leaves.
I would like to actually comment about the Georgetown revitalization. Mm-hmm. I've seen people on the radio and television. I haven't seen anyone that I know that knows the history of Georgetown on the committee, and I was wondering how were they going to revitalize Georgetown and preserve all the points of interest for Georgetown. I was asking somebody who's connected with them the other day if they knew where the little zinc road was. And they were to ask me, well, what am I talking about? I say, the little zinc road. Do you know where the little zinc road was and where it is?
My bed many night where Elizabethan Square is now, and heard the policeman. He walked on beach from the government house down Elgin Avenue, down Shedden Road, the waterfront, back around Cardinal Avenue, and through that little zinc road back to the police station. And it was a measured beat. You could set the clock by him. Every night he made that beat.
Yeah. Well, Orrett Wood used to do that. He used to walk from Elgin Avenue all the way up to where the block factory is now. That was like the extent of Georgetown. Come up to Conlem Mill's house, and right back down. He used to walk through Mayor Street and come right around to the old fort. And come up Church Street, we used to call it, and come up to Shedden Road and go back to Elgin Avenue. And every 3 o'clock, he would do that. And I remember I used to stay and play marbles. And my mother used to say, let me tell you one thing. If you don't be here after school let out, when Orrett Wood passes here, she's going to tell him that you're not home. And you didn't want Orrett Wood or CB to come after you in those days. So it's very interesting how they're taking away our history from us and how other people replace it with their history. And I would just like to let whoever is listening this morning to say you need to get some people who knows about Georgetown, and especially the Clayton Nixon house. That's our family. We are part of the Nixon part of the family in Georgetown from our maternal grandmother's side, and they should come and ask us, and they should come and ask them. They should go and ask the Godfrey brothers about that before they start wanting to move houses and stuff. It never surprises me of what happens with the indigenous people. We are indigenous people because we were the first people that came to settle here, so they can have whatever definition they want. How they try to push them aside, and what they do push them aside, and they replace their history with their own history. But I think that this time that's not going to happen in Cayman because we still have voices, and I'm so happy to leave you in the hands of other people with the same kind of voice that I have.
Precisely.
And I'm grateful that they're here. Didn't
Okay.
have them to come this morning.
Certainly, and I just want to tell you there was another little zinc road too, down by Miss Kippy, Kippy's. Around there was a big tamarind tree, and Mr. Chamberlain Powell, I think his house used to be around there. Charlie Powell and them father, and they for some reason people used to use zinc as a barrier.
That's right.
Because those days you didn't have chain link fence.
And was cheap.
You had barbed wire fence, but no chain link fence, and they used the zinc, around it. I don't know if they did that when they replaced the zinc on their roof, and instead of throwing it away, because those days you never threw anything away.
But zinc was cheap in those days.
But in Boddentown we had the stone walls. You see, we divided with stone walls in Boddentown. But down in Georgetown, they use zinc quite a bit.
Yes. So, Doc, thank you very much. See you on Wednesday. Ms. Susan, any callers? We have one caller. Let's take the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. And good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable
Good morning.
Lawrence here. Mr. Gilbert is now there, I believe.
That's correct.
Good morning. Steve has left. Yes.
Yeah, he's left. He's left.
Wonderful program there, and what Dr. Steve started out with. So we won't go over that, burn up the time. And then Miss Mary there, it's so knowledgeable and you're so right that those things should be done by the people. That's why I asked you certain things. I said I don't know that much about George. So knew any of those people and names you called, and I thought about that too with my friend Neil and Nikki. If they had consulted, I thought I saw somewhere where they had mentioned their names, and there was to have been a meeting there yesterday in the town in Constitution Hall. I'm glad they renamed it that. I see no reason why we should be offended, but maybe some people are. I don't know. That gives it a more impressive type of memory or history. Constitution Hall. I think they had a meeting there yesterday, revitalization committee. Had some meeting there and wanted to involve everyone. I did hear them saying on the radio earlier on that they wanted that day to involve everyone who had some knowledge or something. So I don't know if any of those, and I think they mentioned those names. I could be wrong. Maybe it's because I had that in my mind where I thought I'd have mentioned that they would like for them to come here and so forth, and others too who knew about. I often wondered why too when I heard that about moving the house to Boddentown, Miss Mary, and that why not let's find somewhere in Georgetown for it. If it's not appropriate to leave it where it is, I imagine it's not so. With regards to the Borden house there, moved to Pedro, I have a lot of records. My mother was not an educated woman. She had to leave school at 12 or so. But she made a lot of notes and a lot of writing. She loved to write. She'd write with a dictionary beside her. I remember that over the many, many years going back. Oh, God, I don't know how long ago. And I have a lot of records here, some very old, of the relationship with the Edens and the Kirkconnells and so forth. Mr. Moses Kirkconnell, he married an Eden in 1880. I have all that and so on. Another Eden too, second marriage, I think. And anyhow, that would be Mr. Moses' great-great-great-grandfather, I think, or great-great-grandfather, and so forth. And there are a lot of connections with the Georgetown Bordens and the Eden family, so I have all that. And I imagine that's why they moved the house there, because I do know Mr. Arthur drove he was a very young man then, maybe 20 years old. My mother and father at their wedding there, this took place at Pedro in 1927, September the 27th. And he had a car, he drove them. My mother often talked about that. They were very close and so forth. And I imagine that's why they moved the house there, because it was a Virginia Eden who that Borden was married to, a Ginny they used to call her. And so forth. And the thing with the connection with Jamaica and all that, and I'm glad that you mentioned Miss Llewellyn's house. I remember taking my mother there, her very last trip home, to see, because she insisted she wanted to see her. She spent a lot of time, though she was just maybe 3 or 4 years older than my mother, when my mother got married and moved right to Georgetown, of course, and South Sound. And my father had a little shop that Morris, my father's younger sister, Norris Morris, Nora, used to help her there, and my mother would go and they'd bake cookies and sea grape jam and so forth, and sell it there, and it was very close there, and she became friends, so great friends with Miss Llewellyn and all that, and it was important for her to see her, and all that. They sat and they cried and hugged up each other and things like that. And as you're saying, with the knowledge of the people of that particular district, I thought would be important, would be very important. And with regard to Jamaica thing, it's very important that we've learned all that what you said today and so forth. And I do remember that every Caymanian would vote in the Jamaican elections. They would vote. And I remember my sister Emily, she voted in the 1955. I'm sure it was either 54 or 55. They had general elections. They was a young one at the time. Yeah. And they voted. I remember her saying to my mother, particularly 60-odd years ago, I remember it vividly saying, look at this, Mama, we can vote here, but we can't vote in our own country. We can't vote in our own country.
Okay.
It's a wonderful, wonderful program. I hope everyone is listening, particularly our school teachers and our young people.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much for that as well. Any comments in relation to the caller, Miss McLean, Miss Mary?
My statement about the Bodden's house, it was moved originally, in fact, to Spots and left there for a while before it eventually ended up at the Pedro Castle. But it is not a part of a tour of Pedro Castle. So it's just sitting on the property. You know, if we're going to do this and we're going to and enhance these buildings and put them someplace, people coming there need to know why the building is there and where it came from and who it belonged to and why it has become a part of the history. You know, there is no point we go there to Pedro Castle. You go through the little gift shop, which has things made in China and anywhere else. And then you get an opportunity maybe to see the film. And after that, and you go to what they now call Pedro St. James, this house that they concocted out of the Pedro Castle ruins that we had there. But they don't tell you anything else about the property. They don't tell, during the 60th anniversary for the Queen, the committee that, and I was chair of that committee, organized the placement of a concrete plinth there to honor the Queen's 60th, the diamond anniversary. And it has a flame that people forgot was there until I reminded them when the governor before this one came and they were having a show, they're having a reception for him. And I said, why didn't you all light the flame? They didn't know what I was talking about. And it's on the ground, So the whole idea that we're doing things and we're not putting it, it's all right to do it, but we have Heroes Square out there. The writing is fading on the monument to women. You can hardly read some of the names anymore. In fact, you can't read some of the names anymore unless you trace them out with your finger. But nobody's doing anything about making sure that it is maintained. It is. We did a lot of things in that 2003 year to celebrate 500 years of history. We did a lot of things, but it is not there where you can see it. We have Natural Heroes Day, and once a year, and we hang the banners with the heroes' names on the front of the platform where everybody's sitting, and nobody in the audience can see them. Nobody knows they're there. Nobody understands that they can walk by maybe afterwards and look at them. Nobody draws people's attention to it. We say we're going to lay a wreath in your honor or something, but there is no historical continuation in what is being done. And if we're talking about revitalizing Georgetown. Georgetown has a very rich history.
It does.
A very rich history. I spent my teenage years in Georgetown. I walked it from in fact, 4 of us could ride a bicycle from Mr. Arthur's shop down to the bathhouse where we went swimming. And, you one on the carrier and one on the seat and one on the handle and one in between. That's how you got there. But all the little side roads, all the little places that you walk through, all those little places have disappeared as landowners closed in these right-of-ways.
When you look at what you're saying about the right-of-ways, it is mind-boggling, to me anyway, that we have right-of-ways that has been proven to be there from a small forever, and the government department that is supposed to register them is not registering them on some poor excuse, and the government sits by and allows them to be gobbled up, and people are forbidden from them, and so on. It's just what you say, Madam Speaker, is that there is a major gap in the life of the Cayman Islands, and I mean its people. Mm-hmm. We have been swallowed up by every kind of or known nationality from around the world. They celebrate on the days of their independence or some holiday in their various countries.
They celebrate their heritage and culture in our country.
Yes, exactly. And Caymanians flock out to this and so on, but there is not one blessed instance that I can think of any significance, except what you and your committee in Bordentown does. I wish you all could be there forever, because it's the only hope to bring out what are the things that Cayman was all about, what it should be about, and of course you have the courage to talk about it. It doesn't bother you in the least bit who gets upset or bent over it, similarly to myself. But we have to grasp who we are because of the abundance, the overwhelming numbers of persons who are not who we are. We are adopting it hook, line, and sinker, and think of it, from food to music, name it. I mean, we have gotten so used to hearing American accents that OC, yourself and myself, we somewhat like freaks. I mean, where did that sound come from?
Well, people ask me where did I come from all the time.
Yeah. Okay, we have to take a commercial break. Well past it, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. We are going to close off the phone line so that we can have a substantive discussion as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
I just love the warm ocean air.
Yeah? Your car doesn't.
What you mean?
Looks like salt air's eating your bump alive.
Stop rust before it starts with Z-Bot Rust Protection from Vant Motors. The extreme heat, salt spray, and wet tropical weather can damage your vehicle and greatly decrease its value. But Z-Bot's patented formula protects your car's metal seams, joints, and other hidden areas. There's no better rust protection out there than Z-Bot. So book today and keep the rust away. Call or visit Vant Motors Body Shop on Walker's Road. Your only authorized Z-Bot service in Cayman is now available at Vant Motors. The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher.
The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run.
Saturday, November 2nd.
The Premier and MLA for Red Bay, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, and Prospect MLA, Mr. Austin Harris, would like to invite the Red Bay and Prospect communities to a joint constituency meeting on Tuesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall on Victory Avenue. The Ministry of Commerce, Planning, and Infrastructure will give a presentation on the proposed road improvements for the Red Bay and Prospect areas. Following, national and constituency issues will also be discussed. Light refreshments will be served.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me now we have the Honourable Mary Lawrence, former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, and also with us, former Minister and Member of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Gilbert McLean. We have closed the phone lines off because we have maybe about less than a half an hour left, and I want to give our guests here an opportunity to share their knowledge with us as well. Gentleman and lady.
Well, O.C., I listened as I was driving in the traffic to come here, and various points were raised, which I think could be expanded a bit. At least I could offer an opinion on it.
Sure, certainly.
And one of them was the land, and I hear, and that's been spoken about since I've been here.
You know that's why your friend got blackballed in Cayman. Roy Bodden, when he wrote that article.
Yes.
He wrote his dissertation, and I published it in the Nor'Wester magazine.
That we should not be selling freehold and so on, because soon there'll be none. And I think we're so close at that point now that it's not funny. But for what we do have, and last year, as I remember, there was a list made of all of the crown land, all that supposedly lands of the people. Yes. And I understand, I don't know if it's accurate, but I've been told this by someone in high place, that it is that the lands, and at that time I think they were saying that there's an oversupply or over-provision, the nice words they use for this type of thing, that the government had too much land and the people had too much land and it needed to be disposed of. But I was told by this individual that not only was that whole thing done for a purpose, but that some of that land has even been bought, allegedly, by ministers. Who they are, I wouldn't know. And again, I don't know the accuracy. I can't prove that, but I was told that. But at that time, there was a list of crown lands in Little Cayman, because one of the MLAs privileged me to see in a document that he had of the various listings here in Grand Cayman, in Cayman Brac and so on. But as far as I'm concerned, no land that is in the crown should be disposed of to anybody. It should be held in trust for the people. And the way that land is being gobbled up, if it's not done, the people will have no land. And of course, one of the things I am not quite sure, it may have been you, O.C., who said, well, you wonder why that the land hasn't been procured. I think it is the lady out here.
Miss Louise Llewellyn's property.
Well, it's simple. They want it to be bought, Dada to buy it for a couple million, then government will turn around at some point and buy it for 3 times the amount that it was paid for originally. That seems to be the trend. And it is an awful policy where the government, and I just don't mean this one, those before it and everyone else, are not thinking logically that people who come and buy all of the land in Cayman, they own that irreplaceable item, that there's going to be no space for the Cayman Islands people, the indigenous people, to own that very important thing, some land. We're going to get just like stateside and whatnot, that you go and you get one apartment where 50 or 100 others, and as for space around it, you pay for that each month, and so on, is what they call it now, that you pay when you're part of a strata. That's where we're getting
fees,
to.
Yeah. Well, you would have heard Dr. Macfield read about the reports, the secret reports that were sent out, and it talked about the merchant class in the Cayman Islands, talked about the Marins owning most of the businesses, having control over the prices. Well, it may not be, certainly won't be in our lifetime, but it'll be interesting to see the secret reports that are going out now in relation to the Cayman Islands, and what the governor and the governor's office reports to the UK in terms of property ownership and control in the Cayman Islands now.
They should not be secret, because now we are told there's transparency.
Yes.
You must have transparency, and if you have, you've got to have transparency in everything you do, and therefore we should be able to see what they're saying about us. We can't do anything about it, but we should be able to read it.
Oh no, never. You could never be allowed to do that.
But and I'm going to say something now that probably will rile a few people. But we keep talking about what previous governments and administrations have done. But we only have to look in the more recent years at the tempura debacle in this country, over which Governor Jack presided. And we look at the political debacle over which Governor Taylor presided. And I saw Governor Taylor use his powers on 2 very significant occasions in this country, when he decided, instead of calling a general election after the premier was removed, he didn't call a general election. He installed a minority government. And there is nowhere in our Constitution that allows for a minority government. And he knew a minority government couldn't function. And we were at that critical point in our country when we had to pass financial legislation to secure the financial future of this country. And but for the generosity of the people who had been removed, who collaborated with the minority government that he installed, we would not have got that legislation passed, and we would not be boasting about our financial abundance today. You know, and then the other section was, and this is again is no reflection on anybody except that we maybe as a people didn't quite understand what was happening, but the Constitution calls for the person to be named premier who commands the largest number of votes at the end of the election. That didn't happen at the end of that election. And the group went out and added numbers, and the governor took it upon himself to declare the premier. When in truth and fact, it should have gone to the floor of the House. He would have gotten elected, don't get me wrong, he'd have gotten elected, but there was a constitutional process that was circumvented because he wanted to be sure he got what he wanted. And we have to understand that no matter what we do or what we say, there are so many roads around what is written in what we call the Constitution, which is really an administrative document. And I think we need to start referring to it as such. It's the document by which England administers this territory. Whether they can be generous and says that the cabinet and the governor together will administer the territory. But the fact of the matter is that little section at the back of that Constitution that says they have the power to change anything.
It's reserved to Her Majesty, the government.
That takes that is always there as a Damocles sword, Damocles hanging over our heads. So we need to start thinking in terms in our public discussions. We need to start thinking in terms of what we are, who we are, and where do we expect to go.
Okay, good point for us to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. This will be our last commercial break for the morning. For the record, with Mr. Gilbert McLean and the Honorable Mayor Lawrence will continue after this short commercial break.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
K-Man is going to Carfesta 2019 this summer. Get a sneak peek preview of all performances we'll be doing in Trinidad. 2 weekends only at the Hartwell Theatre. Music and dance shows on Saturday the 20th of July and Sunday the 21st of July. The touching play, Downside Up, written by Frank McPhail on Saturday, July 27th and Sunday, July 28th. Tickets are just $25 per person per show. Purchase at Foster's Airport and Strand, Funky Tangs, Healthcare Pharmacy Grand Harbor, the CNCF office, and online at eventpro.ky.
Kind of like one surgery fits all. You're saying, that's not necessary. That's not going to be the case with me. And that's good to hear.
For the Health of It is proudly brought to you by
Eating Clean. Wake back up to quality foods with eatingclean.com. That's clean with a K. EATINGKLEAN.com.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this morning. Have about 12 minutes left. In the studio with me, Honorable Mayor Lawrence and Mr. Gilbert McLean. Looking at section, we're talking about disposal of land in the Cayman Islands, and Section 38 of our Constitution, 2009 Constitution reads that subject to any law for the time being in force in the Cayman Islands, so that there has to be a law. There is a law. This is subject to that law. The governor or any person duly authorized by him or her in writing under his or her hand may, in Her Majesty's name and on Her Majesty's behalf, make and execute under the public seal grants and disposition of any land or other immovable property within the Cayman Islands that may be lawfully granted or disposed of by Her Majesty. I think, and I mentioned this before, and I think it's important for us to point out that even though we say our land, it is really Her Majesty's land. It will only become state property and the land for the people of the Cayman Islands when the people of the Cayman Islands are in control of their own destiny. So we have to bear that in mind, even though we still need to preserve it until we reach that stage where that changeover will be from Her Majesty to the people of the Cayman Islands.
It should not be as if we're ignored that we don't have a say in our land here in the Cayman Islands.
Yes. This might be a little bit on the humorous side. But when Her Majesty made the speech in Parliament, when she came to the Cayman Islands and she opened Parliament, and she made her speech and she kept saying, my government is going to do this and my government is going to do that. And everybody said, oh my goodness, did you hear all those things that they're going to do for us in England? My goodness, they're going to do all those things for us. And they didn't understand that when she said my government, she was talking about that government that was sitting in front of her.
Exactly.
That's her government. You know, and that's how we don't really have, like I said, a clear of understanding of how we are.
So
the question about the land, though, up until in recent years, even though we couldn't stop it, any sale had to come to the house.
Yep.
And be laid on the table so that everybody knew what was going on. You could protest it at that point. But they removed that now. The cabinet does not have to come to bring to those kind of actions to the Legislative Assembly.
Pathetic.
And at one point you mentioned this thing about the sale of government properties. As I understand it, there were 240 pieces of property that were listed. And according to them, some of them were too small. Two of the pieces that were listed were two in the center of Bodden Town. The one across from the post office, which is being gradually swallowed up by the adjoining landowners.
Yeah.
The one between Turtle Nest and that other block of apartments that is there, that has been swallowed up.
But you know, if it's too small for the people to keep, then why is it not too small for those who are going to gobble it up?
Well, the piece by Turtle Nest at one time held a house on it that was the house for the nurses, the nurses station in Bodden Town. Miss Jessie used to live in that house.
Yes.
And then it shrunk, and then it was a playground. Mr. Scotland had a playground on it for children, and then it shrunk some more. Mm-hmm. And now is a disposal for the garbage from those two units.
Yes.
Every time you pass there, there's garbage piled up on it.
So true.
It's unsightly.
Yeah.
You go next door, you go down across from the post office, and you had the piece there that had what was the commissioner's residence in Bodden Town in the early 1900s. Commissioner Hearst lived there. Then it was a schoolroom, and it was a courthouse. It was used for all kinds of government things. Eventually, it was developed into the first clinic in Bodden Town, the health clinic in Bodden Town. And then we took down the old building that was there, and we put a 2-story building there. And then we redid that, and then we decided that wasn't good enough, so we knocked that down altogether.
During the night,
the walk started.
Mm-hmm. But the thing about
the walk started.
Madam Speaker, to remember is that both of them are accesses to the beach, and with a certain amount of beach frontage.
But you see, the thing of it is, if these accesses to the beach are not preserved, we're going to be in Bodden Town like they are in the West Bay Beach.
Exactly.
Even when you force them to make it, there's no place to park.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to Florida and you drive along Fort Lauderdale, the A1A, which is running right along the beach, that beach belongs to the people, and there are parking lots designated along that beach. And the state of Oregon, the entire coastline was declared public by the governor in 1913.
Smart people.
You know, and they can build there, but there are parking lots for the public and accesses to that beach at all times.
Yep.
You know, it is we do not we started out here. We had the line where in the beginning where the coconut plum trees and stuff was, all of that down was supposed to be for the public, and then we kept moving it down, and we kept moving it down, so that if you don't, when you walk in the surf of the water now along 7 Mile Beach, you get told you're on my beach.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we are losing control.
You've lost it.
We are losing the little bit that's left. We need to fight for. We're losing control of this country.
Yeah.
and our ability to live and exist in it. That is what we're losing control of.
Ma'am.
When I worked with Dr. Frank McField, and we were in the process, we were looking somewhere to put a facility for young people. Not a juvenile facility, a camp that could be used for any group that wanted to go there. And I went around to the landowners everywhere, all through the backlands up in East End, everywhere. I said, lease us. You don't have to sell it us. Lease us 5 acres of land. Oh, no, they didn't want no little criminals on their property. No way, no way, no way. Okay? So then I found out Father Land Farms was for sale, 289 acres. They sold that to us for $4,000 an acre. And Frank bought it.
Yep.
And it was, we drew the plans. We still have not gotten to the point where we set up a camp there that can be used by churches and organizations in the community for children to go to and enjoy the countryside of our island. You know, we have lost it.
Yeah.
We make plans in one government, and the next one comes along and erases it.
We seem not to care about ourselves, about our society. The only thing we cater to is what someone from somewhere else wants. We make laws, we change laws, and so on. But as you say, we've lost it. We don't seem to care about ourselves. It is almost as if we have been browbeat and brainbeat so much that if you speak of something that we're preserving for ourselves, or you're being anti-expatriate, or you're being anti-this and anti-that, well, it is time for us to grow some sense where we're going to say, look, I'm not anti-anything, but I'm very pro Caymanian.
One of our listeners has written in and said a friend and I very recently had that conversation about land ownership and how this free-for-all purchasing of lands is putting and will continue to put Caymanians at a disadvantage for many, many years to come. If Caymanians do not do what is right to secure it, to me, it is likely the government is addicted to that source of short-term gratification that they refuse to protect the long-term effects. I just want to say that whoever owns the land owns the country.
That's right. I agree.
Yes.
But that is something which we could get some exposure on, or they could inform us if one of those MLAs would ask a question, how much Crown land has been sold within the past 2 years.
And to whom?
And to whom, yes. We would get a picture, because it's likely that a lot of it is gone, if not all.
Before we close off the show, I just want to, Mr. Suku, although he couldn't be here, asked me to make this announcement. Saturday, the 27th of July, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. At the Savannah playing field on Pedro Castle Road, there will be a children's fun day. So, again, at the Savannah playing field on Pedro Castle Road from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. They will have bouncing castle, free face painting, a magic show, balloon animals, police canine demonstration, police vehicle and fire truck tours, as well as a drum circle and with Randy, drum circle with Randy Shillette. So that is the 27th of July, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., Savannah Playing Field, Pedro Castle Road. Miss Mary, Mr. McLean, I want to thank both of you for being on the show. Again, we're having plans for Wednesday
and I would like to invite everyone again to come to Buddentown and see the history that we have collected. We have thousands of artifacts on view there for everybody to see. And we also have the display on the constitutional history of this country for anyone who wants to come and take a look at it.
Okay. And that little story that you gave about the Queen referring to my government will do this and my government will do that. And what the person say, you hear what they're going to, our government is going to do? Well, my little joke on when I was becoming cabinet secretary, a gentleman said to a friend of mine, I can't believe that OC leaving that good job that he has over at immigration, in charge of immigration, to go and make cabinets. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.